Hey guys, welcome back to Strategically Small. And on tonight's vlog, I will be answering the question that most people have asked me from the beginning, which is, sis, we like your place, but how much did you spend for your small studio space, my tiny space in Africa? How much did I pay for it? All right. So that's what we're going to be discussing in tonight's vlog. I want you to smash the like button, definitely subscribe, comment, and share. Especially this video is important for our community because I want people to see that it is possible. If you do a mindset shift and you have intentional, purposeful savings, then this is something that is possible for you over time, okay? It's not something that's gonna happen overnight, but if you keep up the habits and you're very intentional with what you're doing, this is something that can definitely happen for you, all right? So let's get into it. Let's get started. The purpose of downsizing, going tiny, is financial freedom, okay? This is why we are doing this, so that we can get rid of all the expenses, we can live a happier life, we don't have to pay mortgage, we don't have to pay rent, and we could utilize those funds toward other things that make us happy and other things that can build investments and assets over time, all right? Financial freedom is the focus of this series. So just as a reminder, this studio space is 33 square meters, which is 355 square feet, okay? This is the smallest space I have ever lived in my entire life, okay? So this space is extremely tiny, all right? Now, if you're not familiar with my channel, just to give you a brief background, even when I was in the US, I lived in Africa previously. I was in Nairobi for 4 years, and then I came back to the US. And when I moved back to the US, I was also in a tiny space for the US, okay? It wasn't under 500 square feet, it was 650 square feet. It was a 1-bedroom, but by US standards, that it was very small. So I started this lifestyle a long time ago. So that's just to give you some background. All right, so let's jump into the numbers, and then I'll jump into some main key points that I think are going to be beneficial for you. All right, so the space itself was $30,000, okay? 30,000 US dollars. Now, when you come to Africa, there are a lot of price fluctuations depending on what country you're in, what area you're buying in. So it's important for you to do your research online, okay? As I mentioned before, I conducted thorough research before I chose to come to Rwanda. I knew what I was looking for. I had a set price range. And if things didn't work out here, I was gonna head over to Kenya, because in Kenya, as you saw in my last video, there are so many options in terms of studios that are also within this price range, okay? So you have to know exactly where you're going, know what is available, the price range for those size homes that are available that you're looking for, and then you can make a more informed decision, all right? So after researching, I was able to find a few places that I thought would be viable options here in Rwanda. So my plan was to come here first, check them out, and hopefully if something worked out, then I could settle, right? So this space was roughly 30,000. Now, this was an unfurnished space, so everything that you saw in my videos, I had to furnish myself, okay? All the appliances, if I count, I have a refrigerator, I have a stove, I have air conditioning, I have a washer dryer combo, all of these things, including labor, I would say roughly, just give a rough number, would be like 5,000, right? So that's already at 35. And then, as I always promote, you need to work with professionals, okay? That would be a realtor, an attorney, all those things. So you have to account for those fees on top of that. So I would easily, in your budget, if you're budgeting, I would give another $2,000 to $3,000 for those type of fees, so that you can make sure that your transaction is legal and that is documented correctly, okay? So that's putting us now at 37 total. And I did, as you saw, I did a whole closet here that is built from wood. This is built in Rwanda. I got my couch, my sofa bed made here in Rwanda. So after I add all of these two together, the closet was $1,400 and the sofa itself was $800. So that's putting us again at another like $2,200, right? So you have to add up all of these costs. So if we're just going to give like a rough general number, I would say it was roughly $40,000 after I add in all the cost with everything. At the end of the day, I probably spent around $40,000 for this studio space. All right. Now, $40,000 is not a small amount. Okay, this is quite a large amount, and you may be asking, well, how in the world did you have that type of money saved? So I'm just gonna give you just a brief summary if you're not familiar with my channel, okay? So I lived in Kenya for 4 years, and I was working for an international company as an attorney, and I intentionally saved my money during those 4 years. When you're working for international companies, there are a lot of benefits that come with that. One such benefit is that if you're overseas, they will most likely pay for your housing, either via stipend or they will pay for it directly. So the money that you would have been spending on your rent every month, you can now save that money and put that money to use elsewhere, okay? So that was just an example of, one way I was able to save a lot of money over that time. Also, there are a lot of tax benefits if you're working overseas and you're getting paid in local currency, all right? I'm not gonna get into the details, but these are things you need to look into if you are in that type of situation, because that will save you a lot of money as well, okay? So I'm just giving you an example. Over the course of 4 years, I was able to save money because I was working overseas, okay? And then when I moved back to the US in 2014, I moved into a small space. So I continued the savings there because it was a very small space, not much in terms of utilities, not much expenses. I kept everything low. So this is sort of a domino effect that has happened over the last 11 years since I changed my lifestyle, basically. I specifically downsized, and I intentionally lived a lifestyle of less expenses. I don't buy a lot of things. I live very frugally, and I am that girl, like if you're at my house, you would know if something is not in use, then I unplug it. Like the only thing that stays plugged in here is the refrigerator. Everything else, if it can be unplugged, it needs to be unplugged. I'm that girl. So yeah, you have to shift your lifestyle so that it now is accommodating a lifestyle of savings, a lifestyle of accumulating assets, those type of things, all right? So those are things just to give you a flavor of how I was able to do that over the course of 11 years. Now, you may be asking me, well, that's great for you, but I want to move to Africa in a year, or I want to move to Africa in 2 years. There's no way that I could save that amount of money in that time, and I fully agree. It's very difficult to do that in a short period of time, all right? So what you can do is start to make small changes by looking at your current lifestyle. What are you currently spending? What are your expenses, okay? So for example, if you are a 2-person household, you and your partner, and you have 2 vehicles, you may need to look at, okay, do we actually need 2 vehicles? Okay, if we can get rid of one, we can get rid of that car payment, we can get rid of the insurance payment, and that could save you alone several $100s every month. So you have to look at small things like that to see, okay, what exactly do we need in order to survive if your intention is to relocate and repatriate back to Africa, all right? Other things you can look at that are very simple and easy to do. Bills like cable, cut that out. A lot of people have multiple subscription services for TV and movies. You need to narrow that down to just one, okay? And you may want to share subscriptions with your friends and family. You can easily do that with things like Netflix. So you want to look at your whole budget for the month, okay? And figure out what can go and immediately get rid of that, okay? Anything that is not necessary, I would immediately cut it. For example, when I was in the US, when I moved back, I was paying, I think, about $45 a month for an alarm system, a company that, for my alarm system. And, you know, over time, I was like, you know what? It seems like it's just really expensive. I picked the company because I was in a rush when I moved back to get something pretty quickly. And after I did my research, I was like, wait, $45 is way too expensive. So even if you're not cutting something like that, what I did was I shifted to another company that was significantly cheaper. And I was able to save $30 a month on my alarm system just by switching companies, okay? So some things that you're not able to cut, you want to research, is there a cheaper option out there, and switch over to the cheaper option, okay? So those are small things that you can look at. How much money are you spending on food expenditures? Are you eating out a lot every month? You can start to cook more at home. All of these things are something that you can easily do, but it all requires a mindset shift, okay? You have to make a decision that this is something that you would like to do and start making those changes immediately, all right? Now, I'm not saying that you need to come over to Africa and pay for things cash. That's not what I'm saying. But for example, if you finance, let's just look at the financing of this place, okay? If I had financed this place, usually banks here require 30% down, okay? So 30% of $30,000 is roughly $9,000, okay? So I would have had to have at least $9,000 required for the down payment, all right? And then you have to remember, financing here in Africa is double digits, okay? So in Rwanda, the average interest rate is 16 to 18%, okay? So if we take the average between that 17%, and we finance the remaining $21,000, I just pulled up a calculator, the monthly payment would be roughly $582.73, okay? So $582 is actually pretty reasonable, especially it's going to be much cheaper than what you would be paying for rent, depending on where you're renting and how large of a place you're renting. But $580 is, I think, quite reasonable. However, you would have to have that $9,000 down payment, okay? So you have to have some sort of savings. That's the message I'm trying to get through. You cannot just come here with no savings. Even if you're going to rent and you have no interest in buying anything, a lot of places require at least 3 to 6 months up front. Some places require 12 months up front. So savings is a necessity if you're coming to Africa. You cannot just come here without savings, okay? You need savings in order to get the ball rolling as soon as you hit the ground. Even if you're coming here to buy land, you still need savings in order to purchase the land, and then you need to build on the land. So you need savings to do that. So savings is something that is crucial to any plan that involves moving to Africa, okay? And then also, once you're here, you have to figure out exactly how are you going to sustain yourself month after month in terms of your income, okay? So you should have at least 2 streams of income, I would say, to help to sustain you as you're living here now permanently, all right? If I were still in America and I was thinking about coming to Africa, regardless of whether the plan was to buy something, to rent, savings is something that you want to start building immediately, okay? So you need to figure out what can you cut in terms of your expenses, your monthly expenses. What can you reduce if you don't want to cut something? Maybe you shift over to another company so that you have a lower cost every month. But you have to think about things like, for example, You may want to get a roommate to cut your rent in half. You may want to move back by your parents' home for a while. These are things that you have to think about in order to allow you to accumulate savings in a way that is much faster than normal, okay? So those are things I would like for you to think about, okay? Now, the reason why I'm sharing the numbers with you in particular is because I want this to serve as inspiration, okay? I feel that, especially because I'm a single person, I don't have any supplemental income from a partner or a spouse. This is something that a single person can do, okay? So if you have a partner or spouse, then things should move much faster, I'm assuming, right? So the savings could be double if you have more than one person in your household, right? So, but you have to shift the mindset. Most people would walk in this place and they're like, there's no way I would live here, right? But to me, it's all about financial freedom, okay? When I walked into this space, I was like, oh my goodness, I mean, this is literally almost half of the size of what I was living in the US. And the focus to me though was always on, okay, do I want to pay rent every month? No, I don't want to. Do I want to pay a mortgage every month? No, I don't want to. So the focus for me was, if I don't want to pay those bills, is this a space that could be comfortable enough for me to live in? And the answer for me was yes, it was, okay? So if you're able to adjust your lifestyle, okay, and focus on financial freedom, then this is something that is very feasible for a number of individuals. And as I mentioned in my previous video, do not discount yourself if you have a partner or if you have children. A lot of people in the US have multiple children, they're married, and they are downsizing. The tiny house movement is taking off because we all realize that we're spending way too much money on, if you're spending over 60% of your paycheck on your housing, that doesn't make any sense, right? You need to get to a point where that 60% can be saved, and now you can invest that 60% in other things because you have now purchased wherever you are cash because you've downsized into a tiny space, right? So it's all about adjusting that mindset. I think if you want to live a life of financial freedom, then this is something that is for you and it's something that you can do. All right. So that is the main purpose of me sharing those numbers with you. I hope that you learned something from it, that you gained some inspiration. It's just about your lifestyle shift, okay? It's not about you have to make a certain amount of money in order to save a certain amount. No, you just have to be practical with what you're doing with your money and be able to eliminate expenses as quickly as possible, right? So comment below, let me know if you have any questions on that. But yeah, this is something that I think is crucial for our community. I also want to serve as an example of someone in our community who also is doing it, and you can also do it too, all right? So I hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Guys, I'm also going to link below the video where I researched tiny houses online, specifically in Kenya, because I think this would be helpful if you're interested in starting to research for yourself tiny spaces in Africa. I'm going to be doing this in a number of different countries. I just started with Kenya because they have the most inventory online. So I hope that's helpful to you, but the amount of studios in Kenya is amazing and the price range is so good over there as well. So I'm going to link it below. I hope that helps. I'll see you next time.